A very good evening and welcome. This is News First Primetime News for on TV1 for the News First team. I am Jayama Ratnayaka.
And I'm Naveksha Gunasekar, and we'll start off by taking a look at your headlines for tonight.
Over 270 specialist doctors and over 840 graded medical officers left the country within a year. Health Ministry to take action against doctors who breached protocol when migrating. India concerned over a Chinese vessel that will reach Sri Lanka in a few weeks. Opposition reveals that the government is attempting to lease Channel I, which belongs to Rupavahini. The spillway of the Mahaveli Kadara River cleared for water distribution. SLPP opposes the President's proposal on the 13th Constitutional Amendment.
මේ රට අද ආර්ථික වශයෙන් වැටිලා තියෙන රට. මෙවැනි අවස්ථාවකදී මේ 13 වෙනි සංශෝධනය ක්‍රියාත්මක කිරීම ඊතරම් ප්‍රඥාගෝචර දෙයක් හැටියට අපි දකින්නේ නැහැ.
In a top story for tonight, the Government Medical Officers Association of Sri Lanka said that during the period of 1 year ending on the 31st of May 2023, a total of 274 specialist doctors migrated from Sri Lanka.
The GMOS said that during the same period, a total of 842 graded medical officers also migrated overseas.
The sole anaesthetist at the Hambantota General Hospital has left the country without informing authorities. Over the past year and a half, a total of 30 anaesthetists have left the country. After completing their overseas training, they have left the service by returning to the country or staying overseas. There is no anaesthetist at the Karanwala Base Hospital. There is no anaesthetist at the Dehiyattakandiya Base Hospital. There is no anaesthetist at any of the hospitals in Kalmunai. There is no anaesthetist at the Mahaoya Hospital as well. The services of an anaesthetist are vital during serious and complex surgeries. During the 12-month window ending on the 31st of May 2023, a total of 842 graded medical personnel have left the country and 274 specialist doctors have left the country. There were 30 doctors categorized as emergency services and 23 of them have left the country, leaving only 7 in Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka's Health Ministry said migration of medical personnel has had a significant impact on the country's health service.
From the 10th of January 2022 to the 31st of July 2023, a total of 263 doctors returned to Sri Lanka after completing overseas training. However, we are informed that around 120 of them have left the country without informing the authorities. Among them are 29 anaesthetists. 11 of them were issued notice that they had vacated their positions. There is a possibility of a shortage of anaesthetists and blood transfusion personnel arising in the country.
The Citizens Movement Against Fraud, Corruption and Waste filed a complaint with the Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka, seeking action over incidents of doctors migrating overseas. Their complaint was based on the incident where the sole anaesthetist at the Hambantota General Hospital left the country without informing authorities.
We were informed that the sole anaesthetist at the Hambantota General Hospital has left the country without informing authorities. It is reported that he is in the UK. You cannot create a specialist doctor overnight. It takes years of training and experience. As doctors, at a time when the country is facing a crisis, bow down to ethics and remain in Sri Lanka to save the people. If they are leaving without informing and are violating ethics, I would like the government to confiscate their assets.
Sri Lanka's Health Ministry has decided to take action with regard to the medical personnel who are leaving the country without informing authorities.
A large number of specialist doctors who returned to the country after overseas training have migrated without informing us and without obtaining leave. If there is a fine they are expected to pay to the government, they can pay and resign. When they leave the country without informing us, the healthcare system may collapse. When a doctor goes overseas, he or she enters into an agreement. That is, following overseas training, they would come back to Sri Lanka and serve for 4 years per each year of overseas training. If it was a 2-year period for overseas training, he will have to serve in the country for 8 years. If doctors go overseas without informing, they need to pay the fine. If a doctor leaves without notice, he or she would be issued with a VOP notice and will be blacklisted. So, when a person is blacklisted, can he or she serve in another country? Can they be issued educational qualifications? We hope to introduce strict laws in this regard.
The Government Medical Officers Association says instead of punishing the doctors, authorities must create an environment for doctors to remain in the country.
If the salary is given to the doctor is not even enough to cover the fuel costs, and if the basic salary is 88,000 rupees, it is surprising that doctors are still remaining in the country. We proposed to do away with the unjust salary system and introduce a salary structure that will meet the market valuation. It is the responsibility of the Health Ministry to create an environment where doctors will want to stay. Doctors are not kids to be held by force.
The Health Ministry noted that doctors migrating should take place legally.
We are aware of the crisis in the country. Our income is less than our expenses. Under legal grounds, I too would like to leave for a better pay.
The Inter-University Bhikkhu Federation commented on the situation.
An unbearable payee tax was imposed. Instead of solving this issue, Ranil Wickremesinghe is creating a country where the people cannot live in. This crisis is evident across all sectors. University teachers and doctors are leaving the country. The tax should be imposed by understanding the situation of the people. They are inconveniencing the people by catering to the needs of the elite. The decisions of the rulers have led to this situation. The rulers are responsible, not the people. India is paying close attention to a new Chinese marine research vessel, Shiyan 6, which is expected to dock at Colombo and Hambantota deep sea ports in the Sea of Sri Lanka in late October 2023. According to the Hindustan Times, the Shiyan 6 is likely to stay till November 2023 in the Sea of Sri Lanka.
Virtually a month after Sri Lankan President Ranil Wickremesinghe assured Prime Minister Narendra Modi that his country will be sensitive to security and strategic concerns of India, a Chinese marine research vessel, Shiyan 6, is expected to dock at Colombo and Hambantota deep sea ports late October and stay till November 2023. It is learnt that scientists of Sri Lanka's National Aquatic Resources Research and Development Agency, aka NARA, will embark on Shiyan 6 to conduct surveys of the exclusive economic zone of the island nation and in the South Indian Ocean. The Hindustan Times said that the vessel will be docking at both Colombo and Hambantota ports and carrying out surveys for nearly a month, with one part of survey being without Sri Lankan scientists. While South Bloc is tight-lipped about the development, it is learnt that India has taken up the issue at the highest diplomatic levels, and it is now up to Wickremesinghe government to address the Indian concerns. PLA warship Hai Yang 24 Hao, with a crew of 138 with Commander Jing Shin as captain, docked at Colombo port for what has been described as a formal port call during the weekend. Last August, Chinese ballistic missile tracker Yuan Wang 5 docked at Hambantota port despite India raising serious concerns about the survey ship.
The Indo-Pacific Environmental Security Forum 2023 opened in Colombo on Monday.
The Indo-Pacific Environmental Security Forum 2023, co-hosted by the US Indo-Pacific Command, Sri Lanka Navy and Sri Lanka Coast Guard, commenced on Monday. The inauguration of the forum was graced by the US Ambassador to Sri Lanka, Julie Chung, Senior Advisor to the President on Climate Change, Ruwan Wijewardena, Chief of Defence Staff, General Shavendra Silva, Commander of the Navy, Vice Admiral Priyantha Pereira, and a host of distinguished invitees.
The Indo-Pacific Environmental Security Forum serves as a platform for nations to come together and address the environmental challenges that this vast and diverse region faces.
It's especially fitting that Sri Lanka is co-hosting this year, as 2023 marks the 75th anniversary of its independence and also of U.S.-Sri Lankan diplomatic relations.
The four-day forum is also attended by senior military personnel and top-level environmentalists in the Indo-Pacific region. The 12th edition of the Indo-Pacific Environmental Security Forum will include presentations, panel sessions, and group activities to share lessons learned and best practices among the environmental security security stakeholders. More than 140 senior officers from defense forces and top-level environmentalists from 28 countries in the Indo-Pacific are also taking part in this year's Indo-Pacific Environmental Security Forum. Meanwhile, at the directives and guidance of the commander of the Navy, the Sri Lanka Navy and Sri Lanka Coast Guard had made arrangements in place for the successful conduct of the event in close coordination with the US Indo-Pacific Command.
Member of the JVP Politburo, Dr. Nalinda Jayatissa, made a revelation during a media briefing today.
Sri Lanka Rupawahini Sansthawe Channel I.
The government is planning on selling the airtime of Sri Lanka Rupawahini Corporation's Channel I. Minister Bandula Gunawardena is the subject minister. The government has sold the airtime of Channel I to a company named VIS Broadcasting Private Limited for a period of 6 months, effective from the 30th of July 2023. This agreement was struck with no transparency without revealing it to the public. The 6-month period began on the 30th of July. It has been sold for 250 million per month. Because there was resistance from certain employees attached to the Rupawahini Corporation and others who were privy to this deal, the government was compelled to present a cabinet paper in this regard. According to the information we have received, they have failed to obtain cabinet approval for it this morning. The organization named VIS Broadcasting Private Limited has bought airtime of Channel I to broadcast a channel named SBC TV. Based on our knowledge, SBC TV is linked to Lanka Mobile. Minister in charge Bandula Gunawardena and President Ranil Wickremesinghe have taken steps to sell airtime to this organization for a period of 6 months. The cabinet paper had been presented to obtain validity for the 6 months and to also extend this agreement for a further 2 years. This is the reality of what is happening in our country at present. Ministers and governments have driven these institutions to bankruptcy through various methods. Thereafter, they take quick steps to sell these institutions to their aides who run fraudulent businesses.
තමන්ගේ හිතවත් ජාවාරංකාර ව්‍යාපාරික ජාලවලට මේ ආයතන විකිණීමටත් මේ යූසුලෝ කටයුතු කරනවා.
The Sri Lankan opposition leader also commented on this development.
A program is in place to introduce new investors to the state media sector. They are operating as if the SLRC is their private property and they can give that away to anyone they want. We believe that attempts are being made to hand over Channel I to a certain group with cover approval. They should have attracted investors for Channel I via competitive and transparent systems. Instead, they are selling off national assets. The assets of the country are not anyone's personal assets to be sold off as they please.
The Electricity Users Association said there are attempts to form a CEB reform secretariat and pay allowances to its members in US dollars.
They are trying to establish a reform secretariat and pay the salaries in dollars. Now our country has become self-sufficient in dollars. The cabinet is making decisions in dollars. They won't settle the debt but will pay salaries in dollars. There is no money to pay for the damaged crops. The Minister of Health only has money to import substandard medicines. The President and the Prime Minister don't have money to hold the election. This cabinet decision has come into play during this dire situation. The officials of the Ministry of Power are paid $7,200 US dollars per month. It is equivalent to about 2.3 million according to the exchange rate. They have appointed a former official who was an associate of Ranil Wickremesinghe for this position. He is Professor Pradeep Pereira. Will they stop at him? If they really want to do this, they should give the chairmanship of the electricity board to this professor. What they are trying to do is give them an illegal power to commit acts that they cannot commit under the regulations. I will have to ask Ranil Wickremesinghe what is he trying to do by giving the people who are responsible for the electricity crisis this kind of power.
On to a story that has been in the spotlight for several days now. Multiple complaints were filed citing that waterways in high ground were blocked, preventing the flow of water to paddylands in the valley after water was released from the Samanala River. Today, the waterway of the Mahaweli Kadara River in Surya River, which had been blocked, was cleared with the intervention of the Mahaweli Authority and the Sri Lanka Police. Water released from the Kiri Bangara River on Sunday morning reached the Mahaweli Kadara River in Surya River. However, the local farmers had blocked the waterway, preventing the water from flowing downward to the valley, citing that they cannot release water until sufficient water is obtained for their rice fields. On Monday afternoon, farmers from the Valsapugala and Andaravava village in Mayurapura visited the site and attempted to open the spill gates. With the intervention of the police and officials of the Mahaweli authority, water was released from the Mahaweli Kadara River. Later, Mahaweli authority officials and the police, along with the farmers, took steps to open the blocked gate from Dangaha Palace in Suryavava.
Now we have no water. People from Mahaweli Kadara, Kirivadia and beyond have no water to even drink. Even to bathe, people find a little bit of water with the greatest difficulty. If not, people from these areas would be dead.
Though it has been 6 days since water was released from the Samanala Vava to the Udavalava reservoir, some farmers are yet to receive water to maintain their farmlands. These are farmlands in Angunukala Palace that are being cultivated on the right bank of the Valava zone. Around 2,000 acres of farmlands are ruined due to the lack of adequate water.
This is entirely the officials' faults. This would not happen if the authorities were more responsible. Now this entire farmland has been destroyed. We are rendered helpless. Water did not reach our area, which means farmers from the upper areas are blocking our water. It was ultimately just people killing each other.
This is all we had to even drink a cup of porridge. We don't even have a grain of rice left with us. We are truly helpless.
This is how the farmers tried to collect water from the drying up ponds and cultivated their rice fields. Meanwhile, a water capacity of 1,500 acre-feet was released from the Samanala reservoir to the Udavalava reservoir. The current water capacity of the Udavalava reservoir stands at 5,900 acre-feet. The Disaster Management Centre said that approximately 51,641 families living in 13 districts have been severely affected by arid weather conditions. The DMC said that a majority of the affected families are from the Sabaragamuwa, Eastern, Northwestern, Northern, Uva and Southern provinces. It added that a total of 171,781 people were affected by arid weather conditions. Dry weather conditions severely impacted the northern province of Sri Lanka. According to the latest data released by the Disaster Management Centre, a total of 75,165 people from the Jaffna, Mana, Mullaitivu and Vaunia districts in the northern province have been severely affected. People living in the Jayasirigama village in Allavava, located in Dimbulagala Polonnaruwa, are facing serious issues in sourcing clean drinking water. News First correspondent said that almost all the wells in the village have dried up due to arid weather conditions. According to the locals, water is distributed to them from the Dimbulagala Pradeshya Sabha using water trucks, but that water is insufficient.
වයින කාලේට වතුර ටික පිරෙනවා නමුත් අර මඩත් එක්කලා ඊනකට බොන්න බෑ දරුවන්ගේ මේ අනාගතේ තමයි ප්‍රශ්නේ තියෙන්නේ
වතුර ටිකක් නෑ රෙදි ටික හොද ගන්න නා ගන්න නෑ ඒව නැතක් කමන්නේ අපිට වතුර ටිකක් බොන්න ලබා දෙනවා නම් පින් අයිති වෙනවා.
This is the number 37 Vellaveli village in Poratiu Patra, Batiklo. Over 70 families live here and they have been rendered helpless due to the lack of clean drinking water.
News First with the people.
In more local news, Deputy Leader of the United National Party, Ruwan Wijewardena, said that a UNP-led parliament is necessary to transform Sri Lanka into a developed country. He was speaking at the Hanguranketa Balamandala meeting of the UNP on Sunday.
When the former president fled the country during protests, some assumed that Ranil Wickremesinghe would become the next president and wanted to stop him in his tracks. Therefore, they set fire to his house and he lost everything. He was only left with 2 shirts and 3 pants. He did not falter. Even after his house was burnt down, he did not leave the country. He remained to serve the country. He went to the Prime Minister's office the next day. He did not even have a tie with him and borrowed a tie from my father. He borrowed a shirt from a friend of my father. That is how he assumed duties at the Prime Minister's office. He did not even think about his property. He put the country first and gave the people an opportunity to live. Even today, the opposition has a responsibility to work together for the betterment of the people. Unfortunately, they would never take that path. We need to strengthen our leader and our party. The Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna stressed that before proceeding with the implementation of the 13th Amendment, the issues faced by the people need to be resolved. The stance of the SLPP was announced by its General Secretary, Attorney at Law, Sagar Karivasan.
The country is facing a challenging situation economically, and we do not view the attempts to implement the 13th Amendment to the Constitution during this period as a wise move. At times of uncertainty, foreign elements and others may make attempts to destabilize the country. The proposal for the devolution of power was not called for by anyone as an urgent matter. Therefore, we urge the President to keep it aside and solve the main issue, which is economic recovery. He needs to be directly involved in that. As a party, we would like to tell the President that this is not the time to be discussing the devolution of power. At a time when the country is facing a challenging economic situation, such topics are not suitable for discussion. We can discuss those matters after the economic recovery. The SLPP will never support to do away with the unitary state of this country. We as a party are not ready to do so in order to support one person.
අපි පක්ෂයක් හැටියට සූදානම් වෙන්නෙත් නැහැ කියන කාරණය ඉතා පැහැදිලිව කියන්න ඕනේ.
Professor G.L. Pires from the Freedom People's Congress commented the following.
During his speech to Parliament, the President says that devolution of power served to bring matters closer to the people. The people have not been given the opportunity to elect their representatives. There is no link to the people here. There is no honest intention in this. Even a small child would understand that this is a ploy to secure the votes of the North and East during the upcoming presidential poll, and it serves no other purpose. The presidential election will not take place ahead of schedule. This is an attempt to divert people's attention. The Constitution will not allow for the elections to be held ahead of schedule. Addressing a meeting held in Kalaniya over the weekend, leader of the Jatika Jana Balawege, Anrukumara Disanayaka, explained the party's stance regarding India. As a political movement, we are ready to engage with India, with a good understanding that India is in close proximity to us and the fact that Sri Lanka is included in India's geopolitical discussion. But what kind of deal do we engage in? Sri Lanka has signed an integration agreement with India. Ranil Wickremesinghe has always added more factors than necessary. He is someone who feels no connection to our motherland, our cultures and our history. To him, all of this can be overpowered by money. He drowns all emotions that he can feel towards his country in the ice water known as money. He does the same thing to everyone who is connected to the country and to the country's unique heritage. Ranil Wickremesinghe is a leader who has no emotional connection to this land.
Ranil yanu me mahapoluwath ekka indriya sabadatawayak තියෙන නායකයෙක් නෙවෙයි me mahapoluwin කිසිදු sabadatawayak නැති නායකයෙක්.
The High Commissioner of Pakistan and the Pakistani community in Sri Lanka celebrated the 76th Independence Day of Pakistan with traditional fervour.
The High Commissioner of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan in Sri Lanka, retired Major General Umar Farooq Burki, HI, hoisted the national flag of Pakistan in a ceremony at the Pakistan High Commission in Colombo. Independence Day of Pakistan, observed annually on the 14th of August, is a national holiday in Pakistan. It commemorates the day when Pakistan achieved independence and was declared a sovereign state following the termination of the British Raj in August of 1947. The special messages of the President and the Prime Minister of Pakistan were read out for the audience.
Ladies and gentlemen, today we gather here to honor the sacrifices of our forefathers, rejoice the accomplishments of our nation, and reaffirm our commitment to the prosperous and united Pakistan. On this day, we must recognize the immense effort made by our people in the face of numerous challenges. Pakistanis, whether at home or abroad, have consistently exhibited resilience, resourcefulness, and an indomitable spirit. I am immensely humbled and proud to witness the strong bond shared between our two nations. Let us continue to enhance our collaborations in all spheres, including diplomacy, trade, defense, culture, education, and sports for the mutual benefits of our people.
The event was well attended by a good number of participants, including Pakistani diaspora, officials and families of the High Commission, local dignitaries, journalists and friends of Pakistan.
Fireworks lit up Karachi's sky at midnight as Pakistanis celebrated the country's 76th Independence Day. Commemorative ceremonies were held in cities across the country. The day dawned with a 31-gun salute in Islamabad and a 21-gun salute in the provincial headquarters. Change of guard ceremonies were also held in Karachi and in Lahore. Further, a flag hoisting ceremony was also held in Islamabad, where President Dr. Arif Alvi was the chief guest, while Senate Chairman Sadiq Sanjrani and National Assembly Speaker Raja Ashraf were also in attendance. Addressing the ceremony, President Arif Alvi expressed confidence that Pakistan would become a developed country in a few years.
French Ambassador Jean-François Pactet said that France stands ready to develop technical assistance to Sri Lanka.
The Sri Lanka-France Business Council of the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce recently conducted its 19th annual general meeting, followed by a reception hosted by the Ambassador of France, Jean-François Pactet. Speaking at the AGM, Ambassador Pactet presented the economic relations between the two countries, highlighting that France assisted with establishing Sri Lanka's Committee of Official Creditors, which it co-chairs with Japan and India, and is playing a key role in the restructuring of Sri Lanka's external official bilateral debt. France, through the French Development Agency and the French Ministry of Economy, continues to develop its cooperation through grants in order to finance technical assistance in the agriculture, renewable energy and marine sectors of Sri Lanka. Detailing several planned initiatives in these sectors, Ambassador Pactet added that the Economic Department of the French Embassy is keen to work actively with the SLFBC to continue developing bilateral trade and investment. He mentioned the dynamism of Sri Lankan exports to France in 2022, resulting in a growing trade surplus of 432 million euros in favor of Sri Lanka, and his will to rebalance the bilateral trade by developing French exports to Sri Lanka.
In more local news, the Holy Mass of the annual feast of the Shrine of Our Lady of Madhu will take place on Tuesday morning.
The annual feast of the Shrine of Our Lady of Madhu will culminate on Tuesday morning. The Holy Mass will be presided over by His Excellency Most Reverend Dr. Brian Udaigwe, the Apostolic Nuncio of Sri Lanka. The Bishop of the Mannar Diocese elaborated on the day's proceedings.
Already about 600,000 people have come to this Madhu camp area, and immediately after the Mass we will have a procession with the statue of Our Lady of Madhu, and at the end of that procession there will be the special statue blessing for the people by His Excellency the Apostolic Nuncio.
Thousands of Catholics have made their way to Mannar to take part in the festivities.
We've been here since the 10th of August. So we've been having good water facilities, and the police protection is perfectly managed.
මෙතන පාසුකම් හොඳටම තියෙනවා. ඒක නිසා අපි හෙට වාර්ෂික මංගල්‍ය සඳහා හොඳින් සූදානම්ින් සිටිනවා.
ගෙන්දවල් සපෙන්නාල වාරෝ. ඉතින් නාලේ පෙන්නාක නාලා රෙඩි ආරි ක්ලොබ්.
The Holy Mass of the annual feast of the Shrine of Our Lady of Madhu will be televised on Sirasa TV from 6 a.m. Sirasa TV is the official partner for the annual feast of the Shrine of Our Lady of Madhu.
The second leg of the LOLC Divisavia program took place in the Kandy district on Monday.
The LOLC Divisavia program is taking place to support the Sri Lankan student population, and the second leg of the program aims to provide school books and stationery free for 1 year for government schools with less than 100 students. This worthy initiative is a collaboration between the LOLC group and the Ministry of Education. The LOLC Divisavia program took place in the Wappegama and Theldeni education zones in the Kandy district on Monday, where 1,973 students from 28 state schools received school books and stationery items. School books and stationery were provided to students from the Gomara Janapada Vidyalaya, the Gomara Tamil Vidyalaya, Varakalanda Muslim Vidyalaya and the Mahausa Tamil Vidyalaya. In addition, students from the Navanagala Tamil Vidyalaya, the Kambegama Junior School, Madhavaka Junior School and Devahandia Junior School benefited from the LOLC Divisavia program. The LOLC Divisavia program will continue to support the future of the Sri Lankan student population.
Niger's military says it will prosecute deposed President Mohamed Bazoum for treason hours after a group of senior Islamic scholars said the country's school leaders are open to diplomacy to resolve their standoff with West Africa's regional bloc.
Charges against deposed president came hours after a Nigerian delegation said Niger's coup leaders were open to diplomacy to resolve the crisis. In a statement read out on national television late on Sunday, a spokesman for Niger's military laid out the charges against Bazoum as, quote, high treason and undermining the internal and external security, unquote, of the country. Bazoum, 63 years of age, and his family have been held at the president's official residence in Niamey since the coup on the 26th of July, with international concern mounting over their conditions in detention. The Economic Community of West African States, or ECOWAS, has called for Bazoum's reinstatement, imposing severe economic sanctions on Niger and threatening military intervention if civilian rule is not restored. Still, the West African bloc, which has approved the deployment of a quote-unquote standby force to restore constitutional order in Niger, has said it remains committed to finding a diplomatic solution to the crisis. The spokesman for Niger's military, Colonel Major Amadou Abdrahmane, in his statement on Sunday, dismissed concerns over Bazoum's health, saying the deposed leader had seen his doctor the previous day.
The annual Sri Lanka Open Scrabble Championship 2023 was held over the weekend. News First Theruni Karunaratna files this report.
The Sri Lanka Open Scrabble Championship 2023, organised by the Sri Lanka Scrabble League, was held on the 12th and 13th of August in Colombo. Renowned Sri Lankan author Ashok Ferry was the chief guest of the event. Scrabble is a word game which is popular worldwide among children, youth, adults and senior citizens alike. Invented in 1938 in the United States of America and referred to as Lexico initially, the game is now sold in 121 countries and available in more than 30 languages. The game is played by 2 or 4 players on a square game board imprinted with a 15 by 15 grid of squares, each of which accommodates a single letter tile. The board is marked with premium squares, which multiply the number of points awarded per tile or word. In an English language Scrabble set, the game contains 100 tiles, 98 of which are marked with a letter and a point value ranging from 1 to 10, and the remaining 2 being blank tiles worth 0 points.
When you play Scrabble, you rearrange letters. When I write novels, I rearrange words. If you think about it, it's pretty much the same thing, because you're forever looking at combinations in a sort of very limited, circumscribed circumstances. You know, you're looking at a fixed number of letters from which you have to produce the best result. And as an author, you do a very similar thing. You there are certain words that occur to you or certain thoughts, and within that limited thing you have to make a sentence, and not only make a sentence, but make a sentence that gets your message across, but it's also beautiful stylistically. So the two things are very similar. My point here being that in this room there are probably 20 or 30 possible budding authors here. So I want you to take the thought away with you that if you're good at Scrabble, most likely you might be a great writer.
Players from schools and universities, adults and senior citizens all competed without restricting themselves to age groups. Throughout 17 very competitive yet interesting games, these Scrabblers used their strategic knowledge and thinking with the aim of claiming the championship trophy. I'm Theruni Karunaratne reporting for News First.
And that's all the news we have for you tonight. For the News First team, I'm Jaima Ratnayaka.
And I'm Naveksha Gunasekara. Good night.